Robin Hood and the King. Introduction. Robin Hood and his merry men lived in the hiding in Sherwood Forest. Even though Robin and his band were outlaws, they stole only from the rich, gave the money up to the poor. Robin thought the corrupt lords were the real thieves. They ruled the land unjustly while good King Richard was off at the war. The wicked lord wanted to hang Robin Hood, but they could never catch him. When King Richard finally returned from war, even he could not help respecting this outlaw who fought to protect the common people. The King Richard. King Richard loved all sports and those who were good at them. I wish I could see Robin Hood, said the King Richard in the castle. I wish I could see him and his men shoot the wrestle and show off all their skills. But if they heard the king was coming, they would think that I wanted only to arrest them. They would run and hide deep in the forest, and I would never see them. I'll tell you how you can see him, laughed one of the king's trusty companions. Put on the robes of a fat abbot and ride through Sherwood Forest with gold in your pouch. Robin will be sure to offer you a feast so he can steal your money. I'll do it, said King Richard, slapping his knee. It will be a great jest. The feast. So the king and 7 of his followers dressed themselves as an abbot and 7 friars. They rode out along the road toward Sherwood Forest. Sure enough, Robin Hood and his men stopped them after they entered the forest and took the king's pouch of gold. But Robin returned 1/3 of the gold to the prated about because he never left any man in need. Robin Hood was pleased with these churchmen because they seemed happy to be in his company. Now we shall give you a feast that will be worth all your money, said Robin Hood. I love a feast, said the pretend abbot. But even more, I would like to see the archery I have heard you are so good at. You will see the very best we can do, answered Robin. But, Holy Father, why don't you take off your hood so you can enjoy the sweet evening air? Nay, I cannot, answered the pretend abbot. My brother and I have vowed not to let our faces be seen during this journey. Well then, said Robin Hood, I interfere with no man's vows, and he never once thought that he was feeding the king. Robin and his men gave the splendid feast of the roasted meat, fish, and the wild bird. The king was very impressed with this delicious food. They had no idea that outlaws could be so well fed and happy. After the men cleared the dishes, they set up for the sports. The archery match. The archery target was a tiny garland of leaves and flowers hanging from a stake far away. Each of you will have 3 shots, said Robin Hood to his merry men. Anyone who misses the mark will receive a blow to the side of the head, as hard as I can give. Can anyone hit inside that little garland at such a distance? Asked the king. He didn't believe it. Watch and see, friend, answered Robin Hood proudly. First, David of Doncaster shot all 3 of his arrows within the garland. while the king watched the surprise. Then Much, the miller's son, also shot all these arrows aside in the tiny garland. Then Wet the tinker drew his bow, but he was unlucky. One of his arrows barely missed the mark. "Come here and take your punishment," called Robin Hood. The king thought Wat could receive only a tap. Instead, he got a blow that knocked him to the ground. "Ha ha ha," laughed his companions. "Ho ho," laughed King Richard. "I am glad I'm not in this contest." The shooting went on. Most of the men hit the mark, but the few missed and received hard punches. The last to shoot was Robin Hood. His first shaft struck so hard that it split off a piece of steak on which the garland hung. His second beat barely an inch from the first, but the final arrow he shot was missing some feathers. It flew to one side and struck an inch outside of the garland. The other men roared with laughter, for they had never seen the master miss before. "Go and take your punishment, master," said Much. "I hope it will be as rough as what was." "Very well," said Robin Hood. "I will take my punishment from our guest." Robin was being clever. He did not like the thought of being knocked down in front of his band. He thought that the arms of the churchmen would be soft, for abbots never worked or used their muscles much, and the pretend abbot bared an arm so thick that it made the men stare. King Richard was an active king, and years at a war had made him very strong. Robin Hood placed himself in front of him, and the king struck him a mighty blow. Down went Robin Hood, rolling over and over on the ground, while his men shouted with laughter. "Well," said Robin Hood, sitting up, half-dazed, "ere today I did not think there was a person in all of England who could strike such a blow. Who are you men? I'll bet you are not the churchman you appear to be." King Richard reveals himself. King Richard threw back his hood, and Robin knew it was his king. If he had been a disloyal man as well as an outlaw, he would have trembled. But the Robin had always been loyal to his king. He believed that helping the poor people of England was the greatest service he could perform for King Richard. Robin Hood knelt before the king. "Your Majesty," he said, "you have no subject in England more loyal than me and the merrymen. We have done to evil except to the greedy lords who have stolen from your subject. We beg our pardon if we have done wrong, and we beg for your protection as we always serve you faithfully." The king looked down at Robin Hood. He was amazed an outlaw would speak so well. He was also impressed that Robin Hood hadn't run away in fear of being arrested. He saw that Robin Hood truly was arrested. He saw that Robin Hood truly was one of his most loyal subjects. King Richard also knew that Robin was the best archer in England. He wanted him by his side. "Come with me to my court and serve me there," he said. "I will forgive and serve me there." he said. "I will forgive all your crimes and order the nobles to leave you alone. You shall bring 3 of your best men to become knights in my court. The rest of your men will be royal rangers, since I am sure they can protect Sherwood Forest better than anyone." "With all my heart," replied Robin Hood, and a great roar went up from the merrymen. So Robin Hood left the forest and went to the king's court, where he served King Richard well. His men became rangers of the forest and protected the land and its people. Its common folk of England never had to suffer under the rule of wicked lords again.